For the last 15 years, one guy has pretty much defined the sound, the culture, and the charts in popular music. His name is Drake, and the numbers, they're just ridiculous. This is the first artist in history to spend a jaw-dropping 400 cumulative weeks in the Billboard Hot 100's top 10. He's the first musician ever to blast past 500 million RIAA certified units. He's shattered records that the legends like the Beatles and Michael Jackson held for decades, having the most cumulative weeks on the Billboard 200 album chart. He basically built a dynasty from the ground up. But what if you just erased him? What if that Canadian actor never got to single track? What would hip-hop and the entire music industry look like today if Drake never existed? To really get what we'd lose, you gotta remember what hip-hop even sounded like right before he showed up, the late 2000s. Late 2000s were a weird time. The charts were full of the last gasps of crunk music and the first wave of front-tone rap. It was all extremes. You had the street anthems from dudes like T.I. and Jeezy on one side and the dance classics from Soulja Boy on the other. Lyrics weren't really as important as the catchy hooks and the simple beats. Then in 2008, Kanye West cracked open the door with 808s and Heartbreak. He swapped out all the branding for auto-tuned melodic sounds with pain and heartbreak at the center of them. It was a massive risk and got a ton of hate at the time. It proved mainstream rap could be vulnerable, but everyone saw it as a one-off art project from a genius, not the new blueprint for that genre. This is the world Drake walked into. In February 2009, he dropped his mixtape So Far Gone, and saying it changed the game is an understatement. It took the raw emotion of 808s and heartbreak and made it accessible, relatable, and flat out cool. Drake didn't just rap, but he showcased. He built together super personal R&B melodies and really strong bars, talking about love, ambition, self-doubt, but with an honesty that was very brand new for a rapper at that level. He wasn't the first to mix singing and rapping, but he was the first who perfected it and rode that formula all the way to the top. So in a world with no Drake, what happens to that sound? The most likely answer is that the whole wave of melodic rap hits a drywall, hard. That door that Kanye opened with 808 might have been nudged a bit more by artists like Kid Cudi or B.O.B., but without Drake kicking it off, there's no way that style becomes the defining sound of the 2010s. So now you may ask, would the harder, more lyrical styles of J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar become the only major forces in hip-hop way earlier? It's a very possible outcome. The whole texture of rap changes. The line between being a rapper and a singer, which Drake completely blurred, stays a solid wall for years. This is because he dominated it. But if the sound of hip-hop is dominated by J. Cole and Kendrick, who becomes the new king? For more than a decade, Drake has sat on a very specific throne. He's hip-hop's pop superstar. He's the one artist who could drop a raw freestyle, a pop hit, and an R&B trap on the same album and watch all of them blow. He became the industry's ultimate connector. They even named a term for it, the Drake effect, a feature that could launch or supercharge careers for artists like Migo, Future, and Block Boy JB. So without him, there's a huge power vacuum at the top. The question isn't who fills it, but how. Does one person take his place, or does his role get split between a few different artists? The most obvious person to become the undisputed voice of the generation is Kendrick Lamar. Without Drake as his commercial rival, Kendrick's path to becoming the critical and cultural king probably happens even faster. His deep, complex, and political albums would stand out even more, maybe making him an even bigger icon. J. Cole, with his relatable storyteller vibe, would also get a massive boost, making his spot as a pillar of the genre without sharing the spotlight. But neither Kendrick nor J. Cole ever really wanted that pop crossover lane that Drake lived in. So who gets that? Does the industry try to build a new Drake from scratch, or does the whole game change? Maybe an artist like The Weeknd, whose own career would literally look totally different without Drake's early cosign, step into that pop star role? Or maybe that space gets filled by artists outside of hip-hop altogether. The center of pop music, which Drake pulled straight into rap, might just drift back to traditional pop or R&B. It's a domino effect. You don't just lose Drake, you reshuffle the entire deck of dozens of other huge artists. But then, what happens to the cultural shift? No OVO, no Toronto. Well, Drake's influence was never just about the music, it was about the whole world he built. His come up was tied directly to his hometown, Toronto. Before Drake, Toronto had a respected musical scene, but it was mostly local. After Drake, it became a global music capital, the birthplace of that moody, atmospheric Toronto sound that influenced a generation. Without its biggest ambassador, it's hard to see artists like Party Next Door or The Weeknd getting the same global launchpad. Toronto's whole vibe in the public eye would be totally different. And then there's OVO, October's very own. It was way more than a record label. It was a brand, a symbol of low-key luxury, quiet confidence, and curated cool. That OVO album became one of the most recognized logos in the world. Without it, a huge cultural symbol of the 2010s is just gone. Maybe his biggest cultural contribution, though, was how he changed masculinity in hip-hop. He made it acceptable for the biggest rapper in the world to be openly emotional, vulnerable, and even in his feelings. Get it? In his feelings. He rapped about heartbreak from a place of real hurt, not just anger. People didn't always accept it. It made him the butt of a million memes, but it absolutely changed what a male rapper was allowed to talk about. Without the certified lover boy, the emotional artists who come up later, like Juice WRLD or XXXTentacion, find a massive audience waiting for them that quickly. The culture of hip-hop without its most famous sad boy would look and feel much different. You see, Drake's rise happened at the exact moment the music industry was in total chaos, shifting from people buying music to just streaming it. And he didn't just ride the wave, he became the tidal force that shaped the new world. In 2016, his wild success was credited with helping streaming services explode, finally overtaking digital sales in the US. He was Spotify's most streamed artist of the entire 2010s. His whole strategy for releasing music became the industry's blueprint. He mastered the surprise drop, the main mighty single, and the feature-heavy playlist album built to dominate streaming. I want to know what you think. What would be the single best change in a world without Drake? And who takes his spot on the Mount Rushmore of 2010s hip-hop? Let me know in the comments.